Which one of these Raven logos do you need, dude? I mean, how many man hours went into those Raven logos? Just
I mean,
wow.
Big Cat is hot on the trail here. I feel like he really likes the one directly in the middle.
Well, he likes the one font on the one. I think I'm running the Raven font. I think letter I. I think he likes that font and that.
Yeah. Big Cat's hot on the trail, man. That's a perfect segue right here to welcoming you to the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie G, master of the algorithm, and I'm here with my co-host, Magnum Mills. We're going to break down all things Barry. Mills, are we still on the homepage?
I don't know, man. Who died and made you the master of the algorithm? We'll have to tune into this episode to find out who's in charge of the algorithm. I'm not really sure anymore. And to be honest with you, Jamie G, we probably never were actually on the homepage to begin with. I'm Magnum Mills. Thank you very much for checking out the Barry Podcast. Please make sure you're subscribed. If you're already subscribed, please rate the podcast, leave a comment. You can reach out to us on social media at Barry Podcast or send your feedback to barrypodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again for checking us out. And get ready to talk some Barry because, big surprise, bunch of shit happened this week.
Yes, it did. And please remember, folks, we will absolutely, positively be spoiling all aired episodes of Barry, as well as any articles, interviews, or podcast appearances. We will not, however, be discussing any leaks or rumors, just every episode up through episode 5 of season 3, Crazy Time Shit Show. The names on this, Mills, are just fantastic. All the sauces to Crazy Time Shit Show. I mean, these are winners, winners, winners. Exactly what time did this crazy shit show go down?
Look at you shortchanging Ben Mendelsohn. And this was episode 5 of season 3, titled Crazy Time Shit Show, originally aired Sunday, May 22nd, 2022, directed by co-creator, co-showrunner Alec Berg, written by Emily Heller. This is her third written by credit on Barry. Previously, she had The Truth Has a Ring to It and Chapter 6, Listen with Your Ears, React with Your Face. The short plot synopsis is the Bolivian problem resurfaces. Gene connects with faces from his past. Sally is disappointed with the results of her show. Barry continues to spiral.
Thank you, Mills. Let's get into this Crazy Time Shit Show before it gets too crazy or the algorithm stops listening to me.
See, that's what I mean, man. It just all of a sudden it just gets out of your control. We open with yet another flashback to Barry's time in the military. This time we see Albert and Wynn get shot in the cheek. In the present, Albert walks into the Los Angeles police station and tells Detective May Dunn and Chief Krause that he's Special Agent Albert and Wynn, and he's here to help them catch whoever killed Detective Janice Moss.
Honestly, Magnum Mills, I really like this soft open here. I thought this was really cool, dude. The scene with Barry in the military, I've enjoyed it throughout the course of the series as they start to do flashbacks from that. They used to do it when he was in the acting class and shit. I thought this was really well done. And, you know, they had the Agent Nguyen walking just so you could check that scar face, bro. He just had it. You couldn't see it at first. You had to really stick around for a little bit. You know, and obviously once we get to realizing what he's doing, it's like, damn, could one of Barry's good deeds actually be the thing that comes back and bites him? Every other soldier and Marine scattered and left just Barry to put that, you know, the cloth on his face and stop the bleeding and call for medic. So that was interesting kind of thing. I enjoyed this. I thought this was cool. And shit, dude, this was just a good way to do it, in my opinion. Well done.
Yeah, I'm with all that. It's kind of they double up, right? It's another flashback, but yet it's also a flashback that brings somebody from Barry's past back into the future. So it keeps kind of right along with what they've been doing so far this season. And then we quickly get the title card and we're right back at the police station. Detective Dunn introduces herself and Chief Noss tells Albert that he can call him Big Cat. Noss thanks Albert for showing up, but says that he's not needed. She was killed by a Chechen assassin called the Raven. Albert knows that's bullshit, and he wants to talk about the guy that he knows who was with Gene Cousineau when he found the body, Barry Berkman. Chief Noss insists that he was framed by the Raven, and he's totally innocent. Detective Dunn takes Albert to find a desk and get briefed on the case.
You gotta love Big Cat energy, dude. Like, I mean, he's the biggest cat. I'm a big fan of Big Cat. I would be honored if he was like, you can call me Big Cat, I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm calling you Big Cat.
I'd be honored if he was
all
in
day.
charge of the logo selection process for our podcast. I'd be really, I know he would put his time into that and really make sure he did a good job.
He would. Dude, I gotta, I don't know. For me, I'm kind of on the fence here a little bit. It kind of feels like Albert Newing comes off as a little bit of a hard ass. He also, I'm hoping that's not like a ridiculous Boston accent, but it's something, and I don't really like it. And so I don't know if it's like, feels a little forced here. And maybe they're trying to balance that with the humor of like, of Mae Dunn and Big Cat. It just seemed like he was a little bit of hard ass here.
I agree with you there. I think what you can't really tell is if this is personal or not. Like if he's there and when he kind of says, like, when they talk about Barry, it's like, oh, he was just helping his friend. And Albert says, yeah, that sounds like him. Is he being straight up with that? Or is he saying that kind of facetiously? Is he looking to Barry to get information, or does he think he's a suspect? I think they try to play it both ways here. And maybe that's what's going on a little bit. To me, it felt like Albert was a guy who came from our universe, the real world, and all of a sudden is on Barry. And that's why he's like, you know, he'll just see him basically berating the rest of the cops the episode for just being so terrible at their jobs. And you see that Big Cat is like no interest, but Mae Dunn's at least like, she was at least semi-confident kind of. So she's like, all right, maybe this guy might actually, maybe we'll catch somebody. Who knows? It's possible.
Yeah, but I do got to say though, it looked like Big Cat had some accolades, didn't he? I mean, didn't he have?
There was a key to the city on the wall. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I mean, I guess he's the chief. He's the Big Cat for a reason, but I'm hoping it's not because he led the squad in number of cats saved out of trees. I don't know.
This will be an interesting development here. We'll see where they go. From there, Magnum Mills, we're back at Natalie's apartment. Natalie is softly, quietly waking up Sally to give her more good news. That's right. Joplin is on the Banshee homepage, and it's still holding that 98% on Roddy T's, baby. That's right. It's all happening. They head off to a coffee shop and they get some caffeine. Nobody notices Sally. Natalie checks her laptop and finds that Joplin's no longer on the homepage. In fact, they can't even find the show when searching for it.
And that would suck. And apparently this actually comes from something that happened to a friend of Bill Hader, who had a show on a streaming service, and it did this. He said maybe it was like a day or two, but same thing. It kind of went from being on the homepage to all of a sudden you had to type in like the full name of the show and creator to find it. Like it was crazy how deep it was buried all of a sudden. So it's kind of nuts that there is that much truth to this. Is kind of how shit works now a little bit for a lot of shows.
You know, one of the things that this show does great is kind of it's satire a little bit, kind of with just the Hollywood kind of inside baseball. But you know, some of this is true. Is it exaggerated? Probably. But this, you know, to your point, this is kind of how shit works. I mean, just imagine how devastating that would be. I thought it was funny as they're just sitting there and, you know, they're just waiting for people to notice that, and just like there's just regular dudes in this coffee shop, nobody's noticing them. I enjoyed it, thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah, because Natalie, that's one thing, man. Darcy Carden just killing it with her delivery and everything. First she's like, it's the whole home screen. And then when they're sitting in the coffee shop, I was like, I wonder why no one's noticing me. And she's like, yeah, I wonder why the fuck nobody's noticing you. Like she's gonna go start fight. Like, yo, notice her. Yo, over there, getting a cappuccino, the tall boy. Notice Sally, yo. And shout out, we don't want to sell them short. After the Joplin was replaced, we did get to see it was replaced by the new Medusas. Tagline here is the new hit show. The new Medusas are more than just charming. They're three goddesses who just want to have fun. Just don't get caught staring. 97% fresh on Roddy T's with a 92% audience score.
Great tagline. I mean, I would probably check out the new Medusas. It's fresh as fuck for sure. Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's probably nothing sadder than Sally saying, if anything, I should just enjoy my anonymity while it lasts, only to find out like, oh no, she's still totally anonymous.
Yeah. And you kind of called this a little bit in previous Barry podcasts here on the Barry podcast, where you essentially said you thought maybe she was getting a little too big for her britches and just this could backfire on her. And maybe she doesn't have the success that she thinks she's going to have. And Magnum Mills, when you're right, you're right. Damn it. And you were right here, buddy. At least it seems so far.
That's not really a fun one, though. I do think it's interesting that she didn't really, it's not her fault, right? She actually made a good show. Everybody liked it. She played the game. She did everything that was asked of her, and she still got screwed over anyways.
Yeah. So welcome to Hollywood. I
think that's the point.
From there, buddy, we're with nowhere else to turn. We see Barry moving back in with his old roommates from the acting class, Nick and Jermaine. Forgot about those dudes. Good to have him back. Unfortunately, for Barry, they've turned his old room into their audition room. It's not much, but they can find him a tiny spot on the floor where he can sleep. This was just, I mean, not a ton to this, but I thought it was funny how they're just like,
where do I sleep?
Well, don't sleep there.
No, and and don't sleep over there because that's where all of
And
our...
don't sleep over there either,
Right.
because that's just kind of my space.
You know, actually, maybe we'll just mark a little space for you right here on the floor.
You know those dudes are charging the same amount of rent too. He's not getting like a discount just because he just only gets sleeping bag space. They're charging him for the whole audition room, I bet.
yeah.
And I never would have considered this. We were talking last week. Well, where's Barry going to go? It didn't feel like he was going to live at a hotel. So like, where does he go? Mr. Cristal? Does he go to NoHo Hank? And he went third option. Didn't even consider this one. So good for you, show.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool how they how they threw us a curveball there and brought back two characters that were funny characters that played, you know, good roles in the past. So I'm glad to see those guys back.
Yeah, again, the show doing the the circle of life kind of thing and bringing old characters back around quite a bit here. And look at Barry, dude. What was it? A little bit over 2 days ago, 3 days ago. It looked like he was going to fix Mr. Cusino. He had a role on Loss of Humanity. He was still with Sally. Now he's all by himself, literally sleeping on a floor somewhere. It's been a bad week for Barry.
Bro, life moves at you pretty quick, dude.
Speaking of Laws of Humanity, we go over to the set of Laws of Humanity where Gene is meeting with the showrunner and producer. They were very impressed with the variety piece, and they go over his part for the show. Gene compliments the dialogue and says that he hopes to do it justice. He thanks them for the opportunity and apologizes to the showrunner for how he treated him back in the day on Murder, She Wrote. The showrunner accepts his apology, and Gene seems about as happy as we've seen him in forever.
You know, it's kind of like, is Gene turning a new leaf here? And it feels like maybe he is. Like he had his near-death moment. You know, let's not forget we started this season off just a couple of episodes ago where he was hell-bent. I mean, shit, he was going to kill Barry. You know, and so to see him kind of make this transformation and maybe a little bit of cash and, you know, a dance with death and having a fresh start will do that to you. I don't know. I'm happy. I like this Gene, kind of, you know. He's trying to make amends for just decades of being a giant asshole in Hollywood. So good for him.
It almost feels not quite like a drug, but it's one of those things where he did it and he actually made him feel a little better. So now he's just kind of going on an apology tour, maybe not just because it's the right thing to do, but it's making him feel better about himself.
Yeah.
Again, doing maybe the right thing for not the most pure reasons, but this is obviously, again, way better than the way he used to treat people. And you even saw that on the producer guy was like, you know, people so rarely prove me wrong, and I'm so happy that you have. Everyone seems, you know, very genuinely pleased with Gene Cusino. So seems like he's on the come up here, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a theme we'll talk about here throughout this episode, but it runs throughout this entire episode. Basically every scene you see with Gene, he's essentially making amends and you know, apologizing. And you know, maybe you're probably right to an extent, but it's cool that they've spent a lot of this season with Gene outside of the acting class and, you know, kind of showing the background of Gene a little bit. And the Gene True Hollywood story, you and I are there for 1,000 times over. Run that baby nonstop. But the apology tour could be interesting as well. So excited for that.
It's a good sequel. It's a good follow-up show. The apology tour comes after the True Hollywood stories.
Yes, it does. From there, we see Fuchs is still continuing to recruit Vengeance Panthers and visits a dirt bike track to see Tracy, the sister of Taylor, the hitman from season 1. She could give two flying Fuchs about anything that Fuchs says and is about to ride away when he mentions that Barry owed her brother $1,700 for a hot tub when she stops.
This was pretty great. Like when Fuchs first shows up and he does the thing, like shows the picture of a brother on the phone, be like, oh, is this your brother?
Hey, is your brother this guy?
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh, yeah, he sure is.
And then he's standing there and one of the fucking bikes just jumps his car. If you're on YouTube, you'll probably see that. And yeah, that was a fun one. But all right, now I have a question for you, Jamie. This is a little bit, fun still, but more serious. She stops, right? She's about to ride away, and she stops when she hears, Barry owed her brother $1,700 for a hot tub. So why does she stop? Is it because the mention of Barry, the mention of hot tub, the $1,700, or all of the above?
Ooh, man, tough questions.
I don't think it was hot tub because it was for a hot tub, so there's no hot tub involved. So I mean, is Fuchs gonna buy her a hot tub to get involved?
But do you remember? But see, if one thing you're missing here, and I appreciate what you're doing with multiple choice, you always try to eliminate the weak links. One thing you're missing here, though, is if memory serves, I think Taylor was super adamant about a hot tub. Like that was his whole thing. It's possible that Tracy values a hot tub equally as much.
Oh no, right. But I mean, she's just gonna get $1,700 then in theory. Like she's also gonna buy a hot tub.
I think it's the $1,700, but
I don't think you can get a hot tub for $1,700 either. So
part of me wants to say it's all the above just because that's never served me. Typically when all the above is an option, I take it.
Realistically, I bet you for some reason it's Barry. The fact that he actually says the word Barry, and maybe her brother said something about this guy Barry or something, and that does it. I think it's just one of those things that we're meant to go for the funny answer, but the actual answer is Barry.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it ties in some way, somehow. Look, Fuchs is hell-bent on his Vengeance Panthers, and he's got a few more up his sleeve. I forgot about Taylor, so that was kind of cool. I like every episode here. They're kind of giving us one or two, ghosts from the past, if you will, and creating these Vengeance Panthers towards Barry. So that's kind of a cool development with Fuchs.
Yeah, maybe the Carolina Panthers should hire Fuchs, get them some actual good Vengeance Panthers.
Well, yeah, I mean, they certainly, yeah. I'm not going to comment on it, but yes.
They might be looking for a new coach soon. I mean, shout out to I love you, Matt Rule, but you got to pick a game up there. After that, Lindsay joins Sally and Natalie at the Banshee offices as they try to figure out what the hell's going on with Joplin. It turns out that nothing is going on with Joplin, as in it's fucking canceled. Despite the 98% on Roddy T's in the great premiere screening, the algorithm doesn't like it as it's not hitting the right taste clusters. But you know what the algorithm does like? Yep, you guessed it. Pam! Exclamation point. Yeah, you better hit my taste clusters on. I love this scene, so I might hit my taste clusters.
Great scene, bro. I mean, so well done between Diane and her little minion assistant, just with the algorithm. I've never heard of taste clusters being used in this format. I love this scene, dude. Big fan of it. Big fan. And you just see her kind of start to just boil until she finally explodes, and then they have to close the door, and I like how they shot it where you couldn't hear it anymore. Really well done. Great scene. Funny. You feel bad for Sally, but very funny scene here for me. Tell me about your taste clusters, bro.
You have to say, right, that all the algorithm shit, like it sounds like if you work in any specific business or industry, there's always this bullshit jargon that doesn't mean anything, like, oh, innovate, think outside the box. Yeah, shit that everyone says, but it doesn't really mean anything at this point. This is what that sounds like a lot, except it's like way funnier. And
well, taste clusters for sure. Yeah.
And I like how Diane said, well, the algorithm felt it wasn't hitting the right taste clusters. Like, wait, the algorithm has fucking feelings?
Yeah.
Are we, is this a Skynet situation? I'm starting to get a little bit worried here, dude. Like, if is the algorithm become self-aware? Are we here already? Is Netflix going to hook up with Alexa and blow my power out or something?
I mean, yeah, I mean, something's going to be getting blown. That's for sure. Dude, this is just, they did it in such a cool, like, corporate, like, corporate conference room setting where they're each on one side of this big ass conference table. It's the little things in there for me. Look, in the business world, everything's big data, and algorithm is a fancy word for it, but I loved how Diane put the algorithm just into everything. And Sally's exploding at this point, and she's like, calmly,
I can see that you're upset, and if there was someone I could call to override the decision, I would, but I can't because I am that person. Does that track for you?
I have to use this line. Anytime somebody wants me to do something that I don't want to do and they're upset with my decision, I'm using this fucking line. How good is that, dude?
Well, I mean, I don't agree with you. I agree with you, but the person I would have to call to agree with you is me, and I don't agree with you. So
Yeah.
that is
So does that track for you?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
having your cake and eating it too. But it is crazy that she even talks about she's been doing this for this long, and she's already given up all her experience. Doesn't matter. Just blindly trust the algorithm. That's kind of nuts, right? You take all your work experience, like that's maybe being a little bit too much of an early adopter, right?
Yeah, you gotta think so. I don't know, man. I guess you got to trust the algorithm, bro. I mean, she's been doing it for 30 years.
Well, and then the idea, right? Like everyone's just basically, oh yeah, Pam sucks, but all the right verticals are watching it. So fuck it. Like just Pam's going to be the new big show. And this is all fine. No one's having any kind of problems until Sally's like,
fuck the algorithm.
And as you were saying that, I thought,
this is what I mean. I think the algorithm might be self-aware. Like they're worried it's listening.
Well, you don't want to hurt the algorithm's feelings.
That's
what we've already established.
Yeah, shut the door. I mean, maybe it doesn't have monitor,
Yeah.
Doesn't have a microphone in the conference room or something.
Yeah, we've established it has
but
feelings.
this was a lot of fun here, and you see other things going on too, especially when Sally start to lose it. You see Lindsay, her agent, holding her back, like, be careful. This is you still have at least a reputation, a little bit of buzz going. If you just you could ruin all
Don't
that
burn
right
a
now.
bridge.
In the back, you see Natalie's like trying to look up something on her phone and like put her hand up like elementary school style, and we don't find out what it is. I don't know. I keep thinking there's going to be some kind of bigger plot development with Natalie as the season goes on here. So I keep looking for that.
Yeah, I hope so. And, I love that they did point out that Pam only has a 27% on Roddy T's. Pam ain't riding with that 98% on Roddy T, boy.
When she's got a martini glass as big as her head, she doesn't care what her Roddy T score is.
Next up, we see Gene is showing a house to Leo where he wants him and his grandson Gordon to live. Leo asks where the money came from, and Gene says that it doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter. Magnum Mills, Gene Cousineau apology tour continues, bro.
Yeah, I mean, who gives a fuck?
Round
right?
two.
Money doesn't know where it came from.
Ooh, shout out. Yes. Everyone should go check out our Ozark podcast. Watch it. Watch the show. Listen to our podcast. You won't regret it. Magnum Mills, I'm happy for Gene and I'm happy for Leo here. One thing that really stuck with me is, and I think Gene meant this, and they've done a good job kind of having, Leo be his heartstring kind of throughout the series to show just a different side of Gene. But Gene told him, I knew who I was. I know who I was, and I need to be a bigger part of your life. And this is his way of doing it. I thought that was kind of cool, man. I'm happy for Leo and Gordon. And you know what, Gene, if apologizing and try to do the right thing makes you feel good, it should.
I agree. And Barry gave him a decent chunk of change, right? But not enough to buy a house. So he is just renting that joint. He can't, Barry didn't get him into play in the California real estate market, I don't think. So Gene's doing well, but I don't think Laws of Humanity's quite given him that kind of scratch yet either.
Yeah, I don't know that 80 grand can buy a house. I mean, maybe like, I don't even know if that's 20% down.
He can run it for 18 months.
Yeah, you could like that might not even get you out of like a PMI payment. Like you probably still have to go like FHA. It's just, I mean, that's the sad truth.
Well, maybe that's why Barry and Mr. Cousineau have to get back together. Mr. Cousineau needs more cash. He's going to be the new Fuchs.
Ooh, love it. That would be an interesting play.
I'd watch that show. After that, we see Natalie is on the lookout for Sally, and she finds her in the bathroom where Sally has sequestered herself in a stall. Natalie tells her that she learned so much from watching her work. It was inspirational in the way that she worked and she put herself out there. She feels like she really grew as an artist and as a person, and she'll never forget it. Plus, whatever she makes next will be better, so fuck Banshee. Sally emerges from the stall and gives Natalie a big hug.
This was just such great work by her. My personal favorite is as she's inching closer to the stall, and she just gently puts out her finger and rubs the doorknob like she's trying to. I felt like she's such a good friend. Like I want her to be my friend. This was just, I don't know. I'm starting to really love Natalie. Like honestly, and you know what? Sally needed it. This fucking crushed her. And what does she do as soon as she emerges and she gives her a giant hug? That was just special, man. Soft spot of the show for me, but it was cool.
Yeah, I concur. And I already love Darcy Carden, actress who plays Natalie, and Sally, great actress, love the part, but from a character standpoint, I don't think that Sally deserves Natalie.
No,
Natalie's just
Natalie
too
might
nice,
be too good.
too
for
good
her.
of a friend, and I really think we're going to see some kind of plot where Natalie gets her own little come up thing, and we get a little role reversal. Maybe we'll talk about that in predictions. But we see her every episode, so I'm really thinking Natalie might play a bigger part of the show going forward.
We then see Barry. Barry doesn't exactly have a deep bench to call on right now, so he's gone to see Hank and Cristal for relationship advice. They're skeptical of his description of things going down with Sally, and Hank reminds Barry that he has massive rage issues. They recommend trying to open up to Sally. Don't tell her the whole truth, but try a small gesture. Magnum Mills, phenomenal scene in my part, just because it opens up. I first thought Barry was seeing a therapist. I was like, oh, this is great. Barry's finally getting counseling. Like, there's a little plant behind him, and he's just kind of like being honest about the situation. And then all of a sudden the camera angle changes and it just goes to NoHo Hank, and he's got his arm around Cristal, and he's just like, first of all, great to see you. We love coming home and finding you in our home.
Yeah, that's such a great, and the best part is, that Barry basically, like, they walk in, he's sitting there, and Barry just unloads probably while they're still putting down groceries or sitting down. Barry just starts talking for 10 minutes before he finally stops there. And NoHo Hank's like, so Barry.
It's so good.
At least they get the thing with Cristal out of the way, because Cristal, we saw that earlier in the season, still it's a thing against Barry. We see him here say, telling Barry, you killed all my buddies. And Barry's like, shit, I'm sorry about that, man. And that's kind of exactly, NoHo Hank references at the end too, where he's like,
so naturally there is resentment, anger, distrust. It makes sense you would turn into human pressure cooker and shoot up all of our friends and eventually yell at your girlfriend.
Yeah,
he did that exactly. Do you think there's any reason that Cristal always says his buddies? He's always specifically said that. He's never said friends or soldiers or compatriots, or he always specifically says buddies. I don't know, it just struck me for some reason. It's just kind of odd verbiage to use for, it feels like somewhere between friends and coworkers, right? Like, your buddy is not like a super close friend, but someone is not closer than a coworker or something.
Yeah, I think it's probably just to soften up the fact that he is the head of the Bolivian, whatever.
Right, usually say kill my guys, kill my men, or something, right?
Right,
like that.
That
right?
would make him too hard a little bit. Yeah, I would prefer him say, "You killed my."
Las Aquilas.
Oh, but they're not all that, dude, so we'll have to get to that. Las Aquilas, they live. At least some of them, because they were out dancing. We're going to get to that.
We will. Dude, you had an astute point that we talked about off camera a little bit here that I really enjoyed, and that was about, Barry's essentially telling them that he's been under a ton of stress trying to make things right, and definitely we can see that as the viewer. But it's really interesting to the contrast that Gene, who's also trying to make things right and has been under a lot of stress, basically thinking he was going to die, but he's gaining all this happiness and becoming a better person while doing so. Barry, not so much. Barry just still lives with this darkness. So it kind of an interesting contrast that the show's doing with two of the main characters trying to kind of, get right, if you will, and make amends for things that they've done wrong or people that they've hurt.
That's one thing that the show is really doing a good job, I think, is mirror images. You even see that a little bit with Hank and Cristal on the couch. Like, Hank's being pretty nice to Barry, and Cristal is kind of like a little bit like kind of good cop, bad cop a little bit. And then basically everything Hank tells Barry about having to be two different people and everything.
It's a classic situation of bottling it up. You keep who you are a secret because you cannot be who you really are. So you're trying to be two different guys at once. And that is simply not sustainable.
All that exactly applies to Cristal. And we see that come up right away. The fact that he is trying to live these two different lives. Literally. Yeah. One as a family man back home, and the other as a gay man in a relationship with another gay man. None of which are wrong, but he is literally doing exactly what Hank is describing. And it doesn't seem like Hank's doing it consciously. You wonder if this is Hank's subconscious being like, yeah, dude, you might want to talk to your own guy about that, maybe a little bit there. And then the way the scene ends is they start talking about, honesty, and Cristal's like, honesty. honesty. And then bam, we see his wife's plane landing. That's just a great edit job, great cut right there. That was beautiful.
Yeah, honesty and communication, right? and yeah, I thought that was really cool. I also thought it was just, I don't know, man. We've been shipping Cristobal and NoHo Hank since this entire season, basically. I personally enjoyed hearing about the traditional Bolivian meal.
Chris Stank.
Yeah. I would love to know, like, that Bolivian meal. Like, was that salteña? Like, what was in there, man? I mean, just, tell us more about the traditional Bolivian meal. But they're a cute couple. Love to see them.
Was it wrong? I expected NoHo Hank to immediately follow that up with some comment about gas or having to use the bathroom or something. I don't know why. I just figured there'd be a joke that followed it, but they played it.
No, he was
great. It was genuinely sweet.
It was
and everything.
Heaven. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was just waiting
sweet.
for there to be kind of an because I never had anything that spicy before, or something, or something like that. Where when you try something you never had before, sometimes your stomach is like, "Yo, what was that?" No, I've never. I don't think we've ever had that before.
And really, really enjoyed that. And just to me, it was the way it was set up, where we don't see Barry breaking in or anything, but it's really clear that he did, and he's just kind of like using them as his therapist. I don't know. I thought it was super funny. It worked for me big time.
Yeah, no complaints from myself on that one either. Loved it. After that, we see that Bolivia wants to prove that they're more than just raw cocaine and trivia, and now it's time for Elena to try her hand. We've heard about Elena. She's Cristobal's wife and the daughter of the late Fernando. She arrives in LA on a private plane and confronts the remainder of Las Aquilas.
Las Aquilas.
She wants to know why they did not protect her father. She finds out that some of them weren't killed in the explosion because they were out dancing. Elena tells them that she wants to see her husband, but first, they're going to destroy that Chechen plant business. Oh no, dude. Like, this is like good and bad. It's like, all right, Las Aquilas lives good, but they're going to take out plants? Bad.
Yes, very bad.
That's my spot. I love plants.
Yes. And
they've got so much parking available.
Dude, but you got to understand, when they first came there, it was nothing but empty parking space. Now they've got this great heroin cover-up business. So
initial impressions of Elena. We heard about her. It's one of those things kind of when you hear a character get mentioned a couple times, especially one has a relationship with more than one existing character, it seems like, oh, this might be someone we meet. This is initially we meet her. I mean, I gotta say, I was feeling it for the most part. How did you take it?
Oh yeah, dude. She was like, at first I was like, is that Salma Hayek? And then I saw her kind of coming down the aisle a little bit. I think she's going to be a great character. Feisty, just that typical kind of like, really beautiful.
She had the same energy as Albert for me, kind of like these both people are like way too competent to be on this show, kind of, or at least have big roles where it seems
you could tell she's like a boss, like she's running this cartel or whatever this Bolivian crime syndicate is. Like she's definitely the boss and serious. And first thing, she doesn't say hi. She doesn't say, first thing is, why weren't you there to protect my father? And it's like, the answer is, we were out dancing. And dude, they did a great job of the tension of this. Here we have the most feared army, Los Aguilas, right? The most feared Bolivian, like, military thing. And this dude's sweating bullets about having to see Elena. I mean, he's like, if you're listening right now, you can't see the wonderful faces I'm making, but he was making some like serious, like deep breaths, worried nervousness about seeing her. And first thing, she drills him and he's like, because we were out dancing. I mean, he didn't lie. I appreciate that out of him, but tough thing to say, you were out dancing.
At least they were honest. And it seems to be, given what we've seen, that seems to be how they blow off their steam, that and going to Johnny Rockets or whatever. So they like their sauces and they like their dancing.
Yep. All the sauces and all the salsa.
That was actually that was really that was the Chechen guys that they were eating the sauces, right. Not at Johnny Rockets, but at Buffalo Wild Wings. So isn't it obvious that if these dudes just hung out for like 10 minutes, they would all get along and be best friends?
Yeah,
just like NoHo Hank and Cristobal, right? They were enemies and they hung out for like 10 minutes and they loved each other instantly. Like, this seems like they would be a really good gang, and if they got together, they would also have more power. So I'm still in favor of the merger. I would also be in favor of merging with Elena if I had the chance. Don't think that'll happen, but I think it would be real interesting if somehow her and Barry got together, because Barry's just in a dark place, like he's sent to kill her, and when they wind up banging instead, because she ends the episode, she thinks she's lost her husband as a
Yeah.
husband, and I don't know, it's just some weird, kind of rebound.
She might want to get like some
dark
revenge,
sex,
like
dude.
a revenge bang.
That's what this show hasn't really done, like really
Yeah.
dark sex yet. I guess that could be coming, consensual and everything, but just dang,
Yeah, just
maybe
a dark
hate sex, but
banging
not in a good
situation.
way, right?
Yeah, revenge sex. Like it's a yeah. I
Bathroom
like it.
sex, that is jacuzzi sex.
I was having jacuzzi sex. The
Yeah,
best.
you wish
dude.
that you were Jesse's girl.
Oh man, so happy for Charlie in that episode. Check out A Night Pod Cometh if you enjoy Always Sunny in Philadelphia. We always will never stop talking about Always Sunny on The Night Pod Cometh. Check it out. But back to Barry. This is the Barry podcast. Magnum Mills, where do we go from here?
After that, we're back at police headquarters where Chief Noss is reviewing the options for the Raven Task Force logo, of which there are many. I think it goes up to letter J or K. So we're talking 10 plus logo options, all with different fonts. Albert interrupts to tell them that NoHo Hank is lying his ass off. Albert is very disappointed to learn that the police have done nothing except interview NoHo Hank. Albert is fed up. He tells them that they're going to head over to Plants right now and round all the Chechens up. Then they will interrogate them and find out if their stories match up with Hank's. And I mean, now they're going.
Yeah, I mean, again, Albert's just kind of like this. I mean, he's kind of like the hard ass, right? I mean, I got to be honest with you, Magnum.
I think Detective Dunn's feeling it, though. She gave him a little bit of I think she gave him the eye a little bit there. That's I don't know if we're just calling hookups left and right here, but I don't know. Yeah. You also see Albert's scar is like pretty badass in this one. He's got like a full little X marks. It's like a pirate scar.
Yeah. It's basically like it's a star scar kind of. Not a big fan of his accent. I don't
think it's
like
just
it.
the natural. I don't think he's trying to do a thing. I just think that's the actor's natural affectation or whatever.
It's a shitty one. We'll just say that, in my opinion. Anything that reminds me of
let's leave
Boston,
hatred of Boston sports teams out of this. So
fine. This isn't, we are the Joe Blow football show, and yes, we hate Boston sports teams, but get in the yard.
Do your thing. Go cry into your trophies and whatnot, your championship t-shirt. So
yep. You'll be fine.
You don't want enough trophies. You can take it.
Yeah. Just go in your car and cry. He's gonna cry in the car.
Right next to the bar. While watching Good Will Hunting.
Oh, that's yeah. Oh, geez. That's a wet dream. All right, back to Barry.
Pitch, the fucking Jimmy Fallon one. Yeah, get your fever pitch.
Wow. I think the best thing to ever come out of Massachusetts is John Cena, for Christ's sakes. Anyways, I do. Yeah,
I do really enjoy Peacemaker, so I'm not.
Peacemaker is great, dude. And Cock Blockers was amazing. So John Cena is 2 for 2 in my book. But hey, we find ourselves back here on Barry. We digress once again.
Well, it was just all a big leader to talk about the big cat, because I love Albert when he comes in. He's like, "Hey, big cat."
Hey, big cat. You raided the nursery and brought these guys in, right? Or were you too busy making a logo for something that doesn't even exist?
I love it. See, I love Albert's tone. I'm not even paying attention to his accent because I just love his tone. Is like what a real person would do if he encountered like a real competent cop came in here and saw what they're doing. This is exactly what he would do. He would be like,
"Oh, heads would
what
be
the
yes,
fuck." Like,
yes,
I mean, just almost like astonished at their mediocrity, basically, or their laziness, or whatever adjective you want to put on it. Just shitty would be the easy, all-encompassing one.
Yeah, and I love that he called him Big Cat. That's
because he did it in the derogatory. He took the nickname the dude likes to think he's cool, and he turned it into like basically a negative term. So he named the shit out of him.
How awesome were Big Cat's freaking logos, dude? Like Big Cat, we
could do a sub
pro bono
on
work
this really, because I would like to pull them all, isolate them, rate them, figure out what fonts they are. I just
make some t-shirts, maybe.
So,
like
I'm saying roughly here, I don't know, 100 man hours and maybe I don't know, a few $100 of ink. They probably had to buy some fonts. They probably didn't own all these fonts. They sunk some capital into this. Like, I wonder what the budget for the Raven squad is and how much of it has been spent on the logo.
Maybe if they get all that heroin out of Plants, they'll have all the budget in the world to logo up this Raven squad thing, man. Pretty excited about that. And you're right. I noticed a little sexual energy in the air with Mare and old.
She gives him the eye, just the one eye when he's like, "No, we're gonna go raid the place." She was kind of like,
"It's like, damn, that's some authority."
I like this guy. She's been waiting for this kind of. Like I said, I think she was more competent than everyone else, and she's been trying to like subtly get everyone to get on the game a little bit.
Yeah.
For the
Because she
record,
kind of rolled her eyes like the first time they interviewed Hank and he came up with the Raven thing and Big Cat bought it. Like
everyone
you
else
kinda got
buys
the
it. She's
feeling.
like, well, I guess I have to go along with this bullshit.
Yeah.
And just for the record, if all of a sudden we just seen this episode and we're like, fuck it, we're gonna start a podcast for Barry and we didn't have one already, do you know what it would be called?
Ravens.
It's in the Detonate podcast would be its own thing. So it would be live from plants. It's Las Aquilas and the Raven Task Force. It's a mouthful. Dude.
That's a winner.
Be awesome. It's a mouthful, but
it's a mouthful.
Live from
but
plants.
hey,
We got the Aquilas. We got the Raven Task Force. We got the logo. We have all the important shit.
We even have our sound that we can play every time we say something.
Yep, we got it. Yeah, we got it all.
Got it all. Magnum Mills. From there, great scene. We see Barry is now shopping at a grocery store as the song Bitch by Meredith Brooks plays over the loudspeaker. That's right. I'm a bitch. I'm a lover. Not a child, not your lover, bro.
I'm a sinner.
I'm a saint.
Do not feel ashamed.
She's your hope. She's your dream. She's nothing in between. Okay. We got to stay focused here. God damn you, Meredith Brooks. We see Barry grab some paper and scissors and tape. 2 things of paper, I think. We cut to Barry walking back to Sally's apartment, carrying 2 bags of groceries. On the way in, he encounters Kyle. That's right, who's casing the joint. Kyle heads back to the car where his mom, Julie, is waiting for him. They talk about their plan. Kyle wants to knock on the door and shoot Barry now. Julie insists they wait until he leaves, and then she will do it.
Yeah, and I don't really want to. This is pretty much just set up for the end of the episode. It's something that they've talked about here that because of COVID and other stuff and just the way things worked out, they did a bunch of reshoots here. So it's one thing that doesn't quite make a ton of sense of why Barry at this point is walking back to Sally's apartment with groceries when he's supposed to have moved out and he's just dropping off his keys. And then also like now he's walking again, but he busted up his car in like episode 2. And then he had his car back for the previous episodes and now it's gone again. Not a huge deal. Just it does seem that with the reshoots, there's a couple of continuity errors here and they're minor enough. I don't think it really affects the flow of the episode at all. Just sucks having to walk carrying that many groceries.
Yeah, I mean, dude, 2 bags and especially, I mean, I know that paper bags are so much better, but you don't have handles.
Reams of copy paper too by themselves. That's like 12 pounds. Maybe
what
more.
I love about this too is he's got such an attitude. He's trying to get in because Kyle's just standing there. He's like, he looks at him, he's like, little help, please,
bro.
Like he just expected him to help him with the door.
I mean, in his defense, if I'd seen someone in Barry's situation, I would have helped them without having to be asked.
Definitely, I'd be like, hey, let me grab the door for you, man. Like, yeah, for sure. I mean, he had his hands full.
Again, pretty much just a setup there for the final scene of the episode. After that, we go back to our favorite horticulture and heroin establishment, plants. Batir is live streaming with the elders back home in an effort to show them their entire operation. Batir heads to the roof of a nearby parking garage. As he and the elders watch, the Bolivians show up to destroy the place. They open fire and we see Akmal get wounded, and then the police show up. This turns into a massive shootout, and the Bolivians escape when a suicide bomber forces the police into a hasty retreat.
Yeah, this is a great scene, bro.
This scene had it all,
can't.
dude. This is probably my favorite scene of the episode. Not gonna lie, but we'll still talk about it because it's awesome.
And the thing, it's just shot so well, right? You see Batir, he's proud of it, and he's showing him different angles. And the elders back home are like, well, you know, it doesn't look like much. That's it. You only got that many people, you know. And he's like, keeps trying to get a better angle, and finally he gets up top, and no, you see the whole thing and the way it goes down, all the way to the end of it, where they literally watch everything. They're like, what is going on? They're seeing this freaking war unfold. I mean, this was a really good scene, and the way they shot it through Batir on his phone, through the elders, really cool. Good shit, dude. This was great.
Again, so many good things, and Batir definitely does not understand perspective. The further back up and the higher he goes, the smaller the operation is going to look. By the time he gets up there, it looks like it just taken up like a quarter or maybe a third of this parking lot. He would have been better off just keeping everything up close. I do love how he had all the guys like holding up heroin, like, no, hold it up higher, make sure we get a good shot of it. I mean, talk about don't get heroin in the first place, but if you insist on dealing drugs, don't do this. And we see that come back again when the cops raid. They go full kind of like just like fuck it, we paid the money, we're doing the stunt. So they drive right through a bunch of things, like a little stand, one of the greenhouses, and they hit must be where all the heroin was, and the cop car hits it, and it comes out covered in just bundles or bales of heroin, and then there's just a white cloud, like fucking Casper the Ghost just exploded or some shit. It's just pure, just heroin just raining down on the scene. And when you see it from the perspective of Batir, it's just, I was just, I again laughing till I cried almost. And shout out Andre, the elder we see. That's Michael Ironside, very, very famous character actor. Been in a ton of things. My favorite was when he was Richter in Total Recall. Remember, I'll see you at the party, Richter. And
absolutely, dude. One thing that was cool with this too is Batir. He was so proud, like no, you should have saw it when we first got here. Just giant parking lot. And dude, we both live in areas where parking is at a premium. So like I can appreciate. I mean, shit, dude. I have to like walk to CVS. There's no parking. It's just in a giant. It's on the ground level in a giant building. City living. So I can appreciate anywhere that has parking spaces, man. And this thing had a ton of parking spaces. So that's all I'll say. But I just, in the end, at the line at the end is,
But dude, this is Crazy Time Shit Show. You and I, we're going to have talk about your future.
it's so funny.
Just everything about that, especially because again, I love the perspective it's shot at. Wild ass scene. Yeah. Loved every second of it.
Great scene, my dude. And as promised, Magnum Mills, last episode, we now get to go to Joe Mantegna's house with Gene, and we're gonna attend dinner. Joe is happy that Gene made it, and he introduces him to the other guests. One of the guests, though, is Annie Eisner, who teaches art at a school his kids went to. Turns out that Annie and Gene already know each other, if you know what I mean.
Dude,
I made a little rhyme there. I'm pretty happy with that, Magnum Mills.
And we like to shout out the booze. So Gene here, he brought a bottle of Duckhorn Napa Valley Cabernet. So shout out Gene. That's a solid,
nice wine.
Very solid community wine to bring. There'll definitely be a couple of people who will enjoy that there. And dude, shout out Gene's outfit. It honestly, like, he's been working in Hollywood for what, 40, 50 years. And I think he's wearing one piece of his outfit is from each decade he's been working in. I think it's an homage maybe that he put. It's wild. Just look at, it's like something the fucking Joker would wear, like intentionally to,
it's loud. It's definitely
nothing matches.
Nothing matches.
Gene Cousineau has his own signature style. So I guess what I'm saying is if he gets a little bit higher of a come up, his own fashion line will not be far behind all of this Laws of Humanity success, I feel, because he's got that. Everyone wants retro, right? What's more fucking retro than Gene Cousineau?
Nothing. And dude, I gotta say, the addition of Joe Mantegna here, this is really cool, dude. First of all, he's so good. His house is awesome, right? And I love when he's
an outdoor dining area and everything.
Yeah, dude, with the little built-in gas fireplace in the wall, like very dope. And I love that he's like, when he realizes that Gene and Annie know each other, he's like, well, shit. And he's like, tell you what, just head over there and bring the wine and have her make whatever drink you want. And then at the end, when everything's kind of blowing up, and after another Gene Cousineau apology tour, which we think is going to be successful, and Annie pushes back a little bit, that's when we get another line from Joey M here, and he's like, fuck, takes a drink of his bourbon.
Just keeps trying to take the drink, and that's what he keeps trying to do, is get everybody to be happy.
Yeah,
and just like he's always like, all right, it's about everyone's to be happy, and then Gene's like, no, wait, there's more. Yeah, that's what it is. And always just that, oh wait, there's more, and it happens 3 or 4 times. And that's, again, good comedy, like rules of 3, keep repeating it. So that's a nice run of the. And Mantegna is just fantastic as always. Even does a little Fat Tony for us later on.
Yes, he does. Enjoyed the scene a lot.
Yeah, and speaking of red wine, we see Hank and Cristal, and they're enjoying a quiet glass of red. Not sure if it's a Cabernet or not. And Hank gets a call from Akmal. He's calling from the trunk of a car, and he informs Hank that they just got hit by the Bolivians and that Elena is coming for him. Hank needs to run. Hank asks Cristal who Elena is, and Cristal says, I'm sorry. Hank runs to a closet and hides as the Bolivians enter and take Cristal away. Elena walks toward the closet and notices a picture of Cristal and Hank, which absolutely crushes her. She quietly sobs as she walks away, and Hank attempts to hold back tears of his own.
So much good shit with this. So let's just start right at the bat. How great of a couple are they? They're literally planning a little weekend Airbnb, talking about checking into the Santa Fe place. Are you free to come with me? As Hank's kind of laying on his lap. I mean, this is just great. And I'm completely free, Hank, was Cristobal's exact verbatim here. And man, that's just tough, bro, because we obviously know it's not. And I will say, I didn't have NoHo Hank pegged as a Percy Jackson fan, but clearly he is not a Percy Jackson. We know that.
I just can't believe through that to the stage of the relationship already. I thought listening to audiobooks together is like 20 plus years. They're really like their relationship's happening in dog years, I feel like. That's really fast.
I mean, having a show is kind of a big step.
Yeah, that's a big step, right? That's what I mean. Like they should be still. We saw them earlier, right? They were still watching videos on the laptop. How do you jump up from watching YouTube to shared audio? The audiobook, that's a commitment, right? That's somewhere between 8 and 20 hours or something. Probably that's a big commitment to make right there. You might as well get married.
And how fun, dude! And it's the damn little shit in the show. Like he gets a phone call and he's like,
"Oh, come on! I told you I'm taking personal day."
We just got hit by Bolivians. They took me. I'm calling from trunk of
What do you mean?
I'm calling from the trunk. He's in the trunk of the car. Just little shit like that. And then once they realize what's going on, I love so much that Hank runs and into the closet carrying his wine. He's carrying his wine. And actually it worked because then there wasn't 2 wine glasses, so they weren't really necessarily thinking he was there. But this was just really good scene for me. And I love how it was shot with the way you're looking at Elena from Hank's vantage point, right? And then you see Elena and he's in the closet and she's staring directly at the closet. And it's not, you think she sees Hank as the viewer. And it's not until she walks up close and you start to see out of your peripheral that Hank had a picture of him and Cristobal put on top of another picture that was hanging on the wall there. And I just thought that was really well done because you kind of think like, oh shit, does she see him? Because she comes in that house like a damn boss, dude. She's cussing. I thought I heard punta this and punta that. She's talking all sorts of shit. And you think maybe she finds him there. And I love that, you see kind of Hank like sweating and kind of holding it back in there. Cool shot, dude. That was pretty cool how they did that.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on all that. Again, they kind of play Elena up a little bit, like she might be a little bit off a rocker. I think it was interesting. We didn't see her interact with Cristobal at all. I guess they're saving that. So we'll have to see. This is going to leave NoHo Hank in a tough spot. And, much like Ghostbusters, I think he's going to have to probably call Berkman, right? Which, hey, maybe Barry will have a place to stay while he's working for Hank.
Maybe he will. Dude, question for you. Do you think Elena, maybe this pushes her over to kind of be like menacing and maybe a little crazy? One thing that was interesting is even like when you watch in closed captioning and she's kind of weirding out here in the house before she sees the picture, it's just, how did they put it?
Menacing laughing, I think.
Menacing laughing or maniacal laughing. I mean, this was like maniac laughing, basically, is what it read to me.
Maniacal laughing, maybe. It was definitely
maniacal laughing. Yeah. Listen, I do not want to offend anyone by this next comment, but it's interesting enough that we bring it up. It's somewhat of a quinky dink here, just a smidge, that Hank is hiding in the closet. What's sad about this is Hank was the one in the relationship who was completely out of the closet. Well, maybe not completely. He was kind of hiding it from his team. And I guess Cristobal was hiding it from his team. So kind of an interesting dynamic there. And, it all stems from them not being able to tell the truth and living as 2 different people, the exact same advice they gave Barry earlier in the episode.
Yeah, it's almost like these writers know what they're doing, right?
It almost is. I think this is a really well written show.
And I think that pretty much wraps that up. So we go out of the closet and we go back to Fat Tony's, aka Joe Mantegna's. Everything seems to have gone well. So now we're on to dessert. Gene makes yet another heartfelt apology, this time to Joe for his previous behavior. He also apologizes to Annie and says that it makes him happy that she seems to have done well for herself. Annie replies that he's forgetting the part where he ruined her career, but Gene claims not to remember that. He apologizes, and Annie says that apologizing doesn't bring her career back.
Yeah, and this is one where you're happy for Gene. He made a very heartfelt apology to Joe, and it gives a little bit of background here that I enjoyed. How they came up together, they trained together, they were in some of the same productions, and then Joe had this like wild success, and he was Gene was angry about it and jealous. And I enjoyed his apology, but when it gets to Anna, like, man, she was not accepting of that apology at all.
No, and I mean, Gene's kind of oblivious too, right? When he's like, and lo and behold, I see someone else that I completely fucked over years ago. I think that he just is kind of on an apology tour roll, right? It's all been going so well. Everyone's been so accepting. So he just freestyles this one. He hadn't even really thought about it. He's just like, oh shit, definitely fucked her over. And we've seen him, right? He doesn't remember what he did to some of these people on sets and everything. So I could see, like, yeah, he actually might not remember this. Like, he literally might have gone out of his way to destroy someone's career who doesn't even have any recollection of it. That's just good way to illustrate, how far he has to come back from what he was before, because that's pretty fucking bad.
Totally agree with that. Magnum Mills, I do feel bad. Last thing on this one, Joe was just ready to have a cheers and drink and bring everybody together. And that didn't really happen.
He tried a couple of times. Then at the end we get the off fuck when he's finally like, yep, this isn't gonna happen. He was trying to have the cool bury the hatchet dinner, and it came so close. Sorry, Joe. And shout out Andy. Shout out Laura San Giacomo too, another great guest star. Yeah, she's got the line here to Gene where she says,
and I don't think that you're really apologizing for us. You're just saying that so you don't have to feel bad anymore.
And I don't think that's 100% true, but I think it's at least 50% true.
There's got to be some truth to it. I am gonna definitely agree with that.
One thing I would like the story behind is when Gene says, when he's apologizing to Joe, right before he apologizes, maybe he says,
well, sometimes you need a gun held to your head to see what's important in this world.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Is Joe Mantegna been in some shit we don't know about? I'm just saying, like, I don't know if movies count for that. And before we go on, just curious, what do you think the age difference is between Joe Mantegna and Henry Winkler in real life?
I'm going to say Winkler might be 7 to 10 years older.
Not bad. Actually, this surprised me. Winkler's only 2 years older.
Okay.
So they really might have kind of, because I was curious if they would have actually maybe come up together in reality. And yeah, this is certainly close enough that they might have, like, in actuality, they were about the same age probably when they got to Hollywood and stuff. So there is probably some truth to this.
Yeah, I mean, Winkler had immediate success, obviously, as Fonzie, but then didn't really. I
feel like Joe Mantegna was one of those dudes who probably dyed his hair for forever. So now all of a sudden he's got gray hair. It looks like he aged 20 years in like a week.
Yeah.
Whereas Winkler's kind of just like, we've seen Winkler look old since Arrested Development, and that was 20 years ago.
Right. We're back at Sally's apartment, Magnum Mills, and we see Barry is putting his keys on the counter, getting ready to leave for the last time. He's also left a collage and a cool little note so that Sally knows what he's really about. Suddenly, Sally bursts through the door, crying her eyes out. Barry attempts to comfort her, and things seem to be going okay. Sally tells him what happened, and Barry tries to empathize. He then tries to take NoHo Hank's advice, and he asks Sally where Diane lives. He describes various ways that he could intimidate her, most of which he learned in the military, and some that he got off a subreddit. Barry speaks in a matter-of-fact tone with his voice and seems oblivious to the growing horror on Sally's face. She flips out naturally and screams at Barry, telling him he needs to get the fook out right now. This, Magnum Mills, was a piece of art for Bill Hader. This was just everything Barry that I love. The way it's just so good, dude. At one point when he's describing what he would do here, it's just, at one point I thought I caught, like, replace her dog with a slightly different looking dog. Just so good. Eventually she hangs herself, so it's very nonviolent, like, and he's just so soft spoken and calm. I mean, this is really fucking good, dude.
Yeah, you could argue this two ways. That one, maybe it's a little bit of a bridge too far that Barry is this dumb. Like, this doesn't, like, you would think season one Barry, even though he's got his emotional problems, would have realized, like, this isn't going to work. Like, this is a bridge too far. When he first brings it up, when he asks where she lives, and Sally's like, why? You going to, like, send her an angry letter or something? Sally's not ready for this. She's never going to be ready for what he's speaking of. And then the way he delivers it, it actually makes it worse that he's trying to deliver it in this kind of nice, just normal, like, this is everyday kind of stuff. Don't worry about it. It's very nonviolent. I think that actually makes it way fucking creepier.
Oh, dude, it's super creepy. Like, just gonna freak her out a little. Like, for instance, I could send her a picture of herself sleeping, just a way of being like, hey, not cool what you did to Sally, I mean, he's just, like, that would be like,
Well, and again,
like,
the strong editing, Barry says, I'm just gonna freak her out a little bit, and then proceeds to immediately just freak Sally the fuck out.
yeah. Oh, dude.
Another great, show and tell and show. The flow of the show is really
he's
great.
wiping the tears off Sally's face,
which
as
is
he's
super
like,
creepy in itself.
Basic stuff. Like,
dude, he's wiping
change
them
the
off
furniture
like
in her house
you
so
would
she
teach a
thinks she's
robot to, right?
shrinking.
You'd expect like an android in Marvel to wipe away tears like that. Like he had to read a book on how to fucking wipe away tears.
Yes.
Again, shout out Hater, dude. I don't know how you make wiping away tears creepy without. It's not even like malevolent or violent or something. It's like an alien, like someone who's seeing tears for the first time. What are these watery substances? Or it works perfectly because he's trying his best, but he's creeping her the fuck out. You get that she's getting the whole scene plays perfectly together. So gangbusters, great work by both actor and the actress here as well.
Yeah, cannot say enough great things about that Magnum Mills. We then see Barry, having to leave the apartment building, and we see that Julie and Kyle are waiting in their car. Julie is in the driver's seat holding the gun, and she reviews the plan with Kyle. As we cut from the inside of the car to Barry, he hears something that we know is a gunshot. Julie accidentally shot Kyle in the chest. Barry watches as her vehicle turns around and speeds off, and he walks into the night as we silently cut to credits. Crazy ending here, dude.
Well, we thought it's funny because I suggested maybe the Vengeance Panthers would take each other out. This isn't what I was thinking. But I did say that they would be really, really bad at this. So I'll take a 1 out of 2 there. You think Kyle dies?
Yeah, I think he might.
So if that happens, like, is Julie gonna go full on like Terminator type, like, all right, now you're responsible for the death of my husband and my son? Like she's ready to strap on. Maybe she buys a bomb off the black web and has to download a certain app.
Yeah, maybe detonate makes her resurfaces. I think if anything, she goes after Fuchs and Kenneth Goulet, because
how would they ever find him? Like he gave him the card.
Can't.
The card just has the bullshit. I mean, I guess the cell phone number that's on the card, I'm assuming it's some sort of burner in Barry's address.
That would be the only thing I could think of is maybe somehow this turns back on Fuchs somehow, some way.
Yeah, definitely fucking creepy. Great work here again with you kind of get the little flash from the gunshot, the sound design, and then Barry walking away. And I'm trying to remember, I think probably the end of the season 1 finale, there are very few times where you don't kind of cut to a song as the credits roll here. So that kind of really hammers home just how alone and what kind of mind space Barry's in right now.
Now that just about wraps up Crazy Time Shit Show. Now it's time to highlight our favorite stuff from this episode. We'll start by each giving our favorite line or dialogue exchange. For me, Magnum Mills, I've got to go to that exchange that we just covered with Barry and Sally as he's walking through just how he would freak out Diane.
So you break into her house?
Oh, she'd never know I was there. The whole point is to isolate her and make her feel like she's going insane. So I would just do little things, like replace her dog with a slightly different dog, or, change the furniture in her house so she thinks she's shrinking. Basic stuff. Most of it I learned in the military, some of it on a subreddit.
This was fantastic. That has to be my top quote from this. That dialogue is just too good for me.
Yeah, Roger Dodger. If I wasn't going to pick that one, which I was maybe going to do, didn't want to double up here. So I went with one of Diane's quotes about the algorithm. And I alluded to it when we were covering the scene. And this is where Diane says,
Yeah, I've been doing this for 30 years. And if there's anything I've learned, it's nobody knows anything except the algorithm.
So sorry, people, bow down before the almighty algorithm. And that brings us to our favorite moment or scene of the episode. I alluded to it again before. Mine is the entire raid on plants there by the Bolivians and the police. I love the way it's shot, the way it looks. It's hysterical. It's important to the plot. It's all the right notes for me. Jamie G, what was your favorite scene or moment for the episode?
Bro, I got to give it to that scene where we see Barry sitting in a chair with a nice plant behind his shoulder. And he's kind of talking about his problems and how he's feeling about Sally and what happened there. And we then realize that he's talking to NoHo Hank and Cristal, and that he broke into their house and waited for him to come home so he could basically tell him all the shit because he had nowhere else to go. This scene just did it for me on a bunch of different levels. Thought it was so funny. The first scene, NoHo Hank's eyes are like really big. He's like,
first off, great to see you. And as much as we love coming home, finding you sitting here, you're always welcome to call ahead.
I love this scene. This was just a really good one for me. Great, great, great work. That brings us to the time of the episode where we each give our Greek freak of assassins, our MVP of the episode. I guess it's my turn to go first here. I'm going to give it up for somebody. I was so close for Big Cat. So close for Big Cat with his logos. But dude, I'm giving it to Natalie. She's creeping on the come up. She was there, like down, ride or die for Sally. She's been the entire season here. But the way she kind of put herself out there in the bathroom to get Sally out of that stall, just, dude, we all need a friend like that. She's a real MVP. And Natalie, you're my Greek freak of assassins for this episode. What about you, Magnum Mills?
Oh, love that call. Absolutely love it. I was kind of torn here. I had two options. One was Albert. One was Elena. I think they both took a slight L in that Elena found out about Cristal. And for Albert, the raid didn't quite work out. But you know what? I'm going to go with Albert because this is the thing in shows when you have some sort of crime aspect. I hate it when the law enforcement is just a bad plotline or incompetent or whatever. And the cops have basically been comic relief for a long time. I like the idea of bringing someone in more like Janice, who's actually good at her job, good at his job in this case, in Albert. I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic to add to the show. Plus, he has personal history with Barry, so he can treat him a lot differently than previous law enforcement could. Also, you know, again, a veteran himself, like everything about that. So I'm going to give my Greek freak of assassins to Albert Nguyen.
Crazy time shit show, my dude. Very cool.
Jamie G, I know that we're no Roddy T's, but hey, we got to grade the episode, right?
Because I'm the Fonz, huh? Hey.
And our grading system, in honor of Henry Winkler, Gene Cousineau himself, is that we grade the episode on a scale of 1 to 10 Fonzies, 1 being the least, 10 being the highest. Perfect 10's the mega Fonzie, and Fonzie was the coolest, right? Hey. I'm up first here. Really enjoyed this one. Couple of minor nitpicks. That was about it. I am going to go with 8.8 Fonzies. You know, again, this is Barry. You might be grading it on a curve a little bit because they're consistently good. And I really enjoyed this one. No complaints on my end. Jamie G, how about yourself?
Great episode. Again, little nitpicks here and there. It wasn't, the ending was a little dark, but the show is dark. I mean, so it's dark humor done so uniquely that it's just freaking awesome. I'm right there in the universe with you. I literally had 8.6 A's on my paper. I'm going 8.7 Fonzies. Because it's freaking super cool. That was yet another episode with a bunch of crazy plot and character developments. We've got 3 episodes left in the season. I hate that. I wish we had 30 more episodes left in this season. Mills, hit me with some predictions for the next episode and or the rest of the season as you see it unfolding.
I'd settle for 6. You know,
30 might be a stretch.
Yeah, we get 8. I would settle for 10 or 12 would be great, I think, as opposed to 8. But I don't mind the shorter seasons because they've been delivering the goods so far. Here's one for you. Like, we see Albert show up and like he kind of poo-poos the whole concept of the Raven. I'm saying that sometime before the end of the season, Fuchs is going to have to actually pretend to be the Raven to pull something off somehow or something. Like he's going to have to actually call the cop or something, be like, "This is the Raven," something like that.
Dude, I would be there for that. I think that's really good. You pointed to it a little bit earlier. I'm kind of buying what you're selling here with Natalie. Natalie maybe making her own show and Sally having
what if
to
Tweety
deal
becomes
with
the
that.
show? What if she makes Tweety into a show?
Tweety.
Well, wouldn't that be fucked up if Natalie kind of gets her own thing and she's like, "Hey, Sally, you want to come be my assistant?" Would that break Sally? Even though she might be.
Yeah.
I mean, you would hope that Sally, she just had all these good reviews. A lot of people saw, you think saw this, at least in the industry. Hopefully she gets more jobs, but it's not guaranteed, especially if she starts spiraling.
Dude, is it possible that Gene hooks up with Annie. Maybe they get back together. He's so hell-bent on trying to make things right with her. But I don't know. Maybe you and I both need to get laid because we're talking about a bunch of banging going on here between characters.
Gene seems lonely after he lost Janice and
lonely.
everything. Like, dude, it's been a while, man. I think he needs to help move on.
I think so.
I think it would be interesting. I think if nothing else, he's going to now, like, you know how I think he's going to try to do for her what Barry did for him, kind of. Now that he's got this in it, Laws of Humanity. Joe Mantegna's, he seems to be back in a little bit there. His agent's got some juice, probably. Maybe he tries to get Annie back in the game somehow.
Yeah, I would love that. Restart her career a little bit. I think that'd be really cool.
Oh, that would fuck Sally up, right? If like she goes to Gene for help, but somehow like Annie winds up teamed with fucking Natalie.
Man, poor Sally.
And Sally just gets squeezed. I don't mean to. It just, I don't know. It feels like the show, like they already took Sally to her high. They pulled her to the low. I think they're going to keep yo-yoing her. I don't think she's just going to be, cruising in the middle lane for a long period of time. I mentioned this before, right? I think Hank's got to go to Barry now, right?
Yeah, I think that's
Cristobal's kidnapped. He's got to go to Barry. Like, all right, I need you to kill another Bolivian.
Yeah, that's got to be the low hanging fruit here. Is Hank enlist Barry to free Cristobal, and we'll see what happens from there. I think that'll probably play itself out towards the end of this. Maybe that final episode or something. We'll see. But I do like that plot line coming to fruition. Maybe, just maybe, Magnum Mills, we get more Detonate. That's just too good to not use it again.
The Detonate app is not dead, nor is that some version of the black market thing, whether it's buying bombs or the Hitman website. We're getting more of that somehow. I'm feeling it.
We have to. It works really well.
And I bet you we see more Andre. That's the character Michael Ironside was playing, the elder there from Chechnya. They're a mess right now. Maybe Hank's got to call someone else besides Barry. Maybe Batir gets called home. Who knows? I just don't think you cast Michael Ironside to only see him once. So I'm predicting we're going to see Richter again, and it won't be at the party.
No, it won't be at the party. I'm going to say Elbert is a one-hit wonder. He doesn't make it through this season.
I can buy that. I think, honestly, like we're going to get a showdown between him and Elena somehow. Like everyone's going to do like a reverse thing in the massacre where they're all gunning for Barry. And so like Barry catches them in like a crossfire with each other kind of deal, whether it's real or metaphorical, where they're both kind of like the enemy of my enemy kind of thing. So Barry just kind of tries to turn them on each other in some kind of ambush or scheme or something. I don't know. Maybe that's too much fun for what maybe Barry can't handle all that right now, but sounds like a good time. And this is one that's really fucking random, but somehow we get another black market bomb and it accidentally detonates because of the bad Bluetooth connection. And maybe that's how Elena goes or something like that. To bring the Bluetooth thing up again, it's coming back somehow. And that's going to be the ironic resolution of this season, is a bad Bluetooth connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see how how fantastic her Airbnb is, if it's the same as Fernando's. Yeah. We're damn near done here, Magnum Mills. I mean, I need you to just tell us basically what the hell's coming up next on the Barry podcast.
Easy enough. Next week, we'll be covering episode 6 of season 3 titled 710N. Might be 710 North, not sure. And look for the next episode of the Barry podcast to drop on Wednesday, May 25th.
Thank you for checking out the Barry podcast presented by the handsome fellows of the Joe Blow Football Show. We really hope that you enjoyed listening and watching us. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It only takes you a second, helps us out big time. Magnum Mills will thank you 15 times per podcast if you do it. He also will tell you where you can find all of our totally chill and free content.
This is the Barry podcast. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Please remember to rate, review, all that good stuff. You can find us on social media at Barry Podcast, and you can send your feedback to barrypodcast@gmail.com. We're from the Joe Blow Football Show, who you can find at joeblowfootballshow.com and on social media at Joe Blow Show. We are covering the 6th and final season of Better Call Saul on Saul Over Soon. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and social media at Saul Over Soon. And we can't stop, won't stop, ever, forever, covering It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on The Night Pod Cometh. Find us at Night Pod Cometh on your favorite podcast platform and on social media. We're beginning to wrap up our coverage of Ozark from Netflix. We are the Ozark Podcast on your favorite podcast platform and on social media. Speaking of Netflix, the 6th and final season of Peaky Blinders is about to drop there, and we already covered that on PBP, a Peaky Blinders podcast on your favorite podcast platform and on social media at Peaky Podcast. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. Thank you for maybe the 12th or 13th time for watching, listening, what have you. Hope you enjoyed it. But again, thank you very, very much. And hey, if you didn't like it, there's no need to worry. I think people can change.
And always remember, you got to turn off the Wi-Fi before you press the detonate button. We'll see you next time on the Barry Podcast.
This has been the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. This show is for entertainment purposes only. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with Barry, HBO, Alec Berg Inc., Han Arpley, or Warner Brothers Television. The views here are those of the hosts only, and they do not reflect those of any other person, organization, or entity. Thanks again for tuning in, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next episode.
See you at the party, Richter.